click the link to join channel here over at Subscribestar. So where we are now, the line in the sand for a lot of these people is saying that men aren't women. Reality, otherwise reality is the line in the sand. Hashtag stock up on the supplies you need and possibly a 3D printer. You know, the founding fathers will be 3D printing right now. Fed says what? It's literally, that's what the founding fathers want. To go read the writings of George Washington. Anyway, so the BLT museum goes full, I guess, 1984's J.K. Rowling in the name of progress. Enjoy the decline. What happened was they have a Harry Potter museum, which I guess is the real tragedy. And they have talk about a commercial zone country. It's like, we got a museum for just pop culture crap. Oh, that's weird. They have the props from the movie because that was a huge pop cultural phenomenon a few years ago. But the cultural bullshit window is moving so fast to Brave New World territory that for the commies, the books and movies are not aging well because every year more and more things get politically incorrect. They get haram. So stuff that they loved just 15 years ago is basically far-right Hugo Boss propaganda because they're insane. And a lot of this stuff is just untreated mental illness because the society is so sick and depraved that, you don't weed the garden, you get weeds. There's no garden without a gardener. So for them, JK has become a wrong thinker because she had the audacity to say that men aren't women and that they have the right to separate spaces, which seems perfectly reasonable. It's what societies have done forever. But now men want to intrude in women's spaces, sports, gyms, locker rooms, bathrooms, even hospitals, shelters, and crisis centers. And some women are mentioning that they'd be more comfortable being treated by women, not men who identify as women. These women are known as intolerant bigots, and they need to be punished. There was a woman who was kicked out of a cancer treatment center because of that issue. And men are winning sporting events and getting scholarships and sometimes attacking women where they are the most vulnerable. But it's progress, and only the fash want to protect women and children. Which, hey, fine. If that's the line in the sand, most people are going to be fine with it. Anyway, so they have this wizard museum for adults who are forever children. And these new Bolsheviks, instead of tolerate... Oh, let me take a look at this bullshit. Here you go. So instead of tolerating diversity of thought, are discovering that many of the old writers' characters and stories are now verboten. So instead of just living and letting live and accepting that their woke views are different from other people's and just like, okay, well, that's what diversity of thought is. I mean, if you have different people coming together, they're all going to have different views and values and religions and different tribes and ways of doing things. Like, that's what you get if you want people living together from who have different belief systems. And they want people living together, but they don't want them to have different religions or belief systems. They all have to be Bolsheviks, otherwise they're wrong thinkers. They're Hugo Boss, and it goes from punching Hugo Boss, which is everyone who literally isn't them, to deleting them. That's what the narrative is, and that's where the narrative is going. That's where it is right now. That's how a lot of these people think. So they literally can't accept that people have. So your values are kind of created in this past 10 years, all kind of sprung up from nothing. And, everyone else's values come from like tribalism, nationalism. They go back, I don't know, thousands of years of civilization at least, and probably millions of years of primate behavior. But your values, like recently since Marx in the past 100 years, those values are the correct values, even though when they're carried out into execution, lead to well-fertilized fields and mass starvation. Yeah, that's insane. Obviously, that's insane. So no, they can't live and let live. They need to get rid of the records of progress as they have historically done, and as they are going to do in the future, because not enough people are willing to. I just want a grill. Yeah, well, okay, great. I mean, what happens when they take that all away from you? So what they're doing is going around busy working to change old stories like that. Robert Dahlia, the English story, and there's a bunch of others, but that was just kind of famously in the news, The Witches, which was made into this bizarrely bad movie where you had a little pox kid, and he was in a team of 3 people, but the other, and of course they race swapped him, but the other 2 sidekick characters didn't do anything, and in the original books they all worked together. But because it's a pox kid, he can't have any help. So they were just there for window dressing. He solved every puzzle in the movie on his own. It was freaking bizarre. The 2 kids, the 2 little white kids, were just there to cheer him along. It was embarrassing to watch, and it's embarrassing that they think this kind of like soft bigotry is good for their argument. Anyway, so they're busy working to change old stories, editing them for modern woke snowflakes, or removing things from museums, or destroying statues, artworks, flags, even the museums themselves eventually. The Cultural Revolution has to destroy the past because it was better. The standard of life was higher, families were stronger, communities were tighter. Almost by every metric, it was better. Most of us were there, or at least are familiar enough with history to know America was a much better place and is getting worse every day. So the Bolsheviks have to destroy any remnants of the past because they don't want people to be reminded that things were better. They want people to live in the eternal present because the future is going to get so much worse. You can see the modern art that the left creates. It's ugly and meaningless. Their stories are pure propaganda. They can't actually create anything that people want. Their art holds up the ugly, abstract, absurd, and demonic to be idolized. Their driving force is Moloch and the left-hand path. They need to create a hell on earth to usher in Lucifer. You can see the Podesta, Epstein, Wiener influence in their art. Everything is destruction and corruption. It's from the Frankfurt School of Deconstruction. They must destroy everything in the West, every social norm, kill religion of the light, families, tribal, and national structure. And if Lucifer sounds a little tinfoil hat, look at what they're literally doing to kids right now. Wouldn't what they're doing be a literal blood sacrifice to Moloch? It's weird that all this is actually happening, and when you mention it, and maybe we should address this kind of thing. The left calls you Alex Jones, and the right calls you feds. It's like, okay, where are we expected to go from this when it's really inconceivable to people that we'd want to start repairing this, and to do so requires getting off the couch? I mean, you can see how bad things have gotten in just a few years. What do you think the future holds? The future belongs to people who have kids and who fight for their way of life, and the right seems to be totally asleep at the wheel while the left is busy advancing their interests. These kind of people, these kind of people are the useful idiots who will be lined up against the wall after the revolution. But these kind of useful idiots are the one who are controlling the narrative. These are the kind of people who go to school board meetings and city councils. They go to every meeting, these kind of people. And they're absolutely controlling the meeting. Senator Scott Wiener, a California senator who just passed that law to make it easier for adult men to be with little boys. Like, those kind of people are running the narrative because the people who just want a barbecue are the ones who are just kind of sitting back and letting it all happen to them. Eventually, the alt-left has to ban everything that isn't Bolshevik propaganda. That's the point of the Frankfurt School, literally to destroy everything in the West, including the Western people, and replace everything and everyone. To say they want a hell on earth to usher in the Antichrist sounds pretty weird, except you can see what they're literally doing right now. If you take your head out of the sand and look at it, it's like, she's just getting worse every day. Yeah, maybe someone will come along and fix it. Yeah, that's you. You're in the mirror. It's you as an individual has no strength, but you as a group with other like-minded individuals does. Fed says what? Yeah, there's no other path forward other than getting together with people to address these things, form political action committees and advocacy groups and that kind of stuff. Like that's the only possible path forward other than to let these kind of people repeat history through China, Russia, or wherever else, Cuba. They've pushed communism. It's just they're going to repeat history. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.